welcome to my channel, Graceful Art Designs. Today I'm going to be doing something that I haven't done before, and that I'm going to be pouring out acrylic paint to forms. And I'm just going to use a palette knife to swipe over the bird with the palette knife, and hopefully that will give it a nice golden glow. I do also have some gold paint which I was going to pour out, but since I'm not going to be using the hairdryer, I don't think I'm going to be using it. I'll see. So I don't know if it's showing, I think it is, but I haven't covered the whole canvas. Although I stretched it out, I didn't really wait long enough for it to cover everything. And maybe there's enough, maybe there isn't, but once I've put on the other colours, there'll be enough weight of paint to stretch it out. So I'm not worried about it. And also I might, add some other colours around the edges anyway to make the leaves and the background. So I'll just get the red, which is what I'm starting with, the deepest red, and I'll put down a spoonful of that for the head and the body. And I'm going to do it in the middle just so that I have the possibility of, spreading out if I need to. So that will be the head, and then a little bit more for the body. And I could blur it out because I have done that many times with intentional pouring. There are different options, but I don't want to. I want to just try this way and see what happens. I think it could look very pretty if it succeeds. And if it doesn't succeed, well, then I'll just pour out all the paint into one of these big containers and use it again as a base for something. And I think that's enough of the red. So there I have those two reds. Okay, you can see the second one is a lighter colour than the first one. And then the two yellows, one is yellow ochre and one is, Naples yellow, I think. And then I'm going to just tilt the one over the other, and that will also push the head further down. And I may need two hands for this. So I'm going to put the camera down. That didn't spread out very far, so I'll see what happens. But now I'm going to add a little of the green, and then the blues, and then I'll tilt it again, and then the blues, then I'll tilt it again. So there we have the two greens, and I'm going to try and tilt again with one hand. Okay, so that's mixing a bit better, and the head is going right to the top. So now I'll add the blues, and then finally when the blue is on, I'm going to swipe it with the pearlescent gold. So that's the blue, and I've dropped a few spots of the red all over. So now I'm tilting it forward again. I may tilt it back this way, since the weight of the colour seems to be on this side and I don't want it all to go over the top. And it's intentional pouring, but it's not going to get the exact shape of a bird, not this way. But that doesn't matter, because I'm going to shape it afterwards. Well, I'm going to shape it while it's wet, and then the rest, whatever I don't like, will be part of the background, which I'll cover with greens, and I might blow those out. I'll see. Just got to balance it on these cups. Now, most people swipe before they stretch, but I'm not, I stretched first, and now I'm going to swipe. And I'm going to only show you one swipe because I definitely need two hands to wipe off this palette knife before I do the next swipe. So this is the first swipe with the pearlescent gold, and I'm going to swipe over the head. And it's just, as I say, just to get this formation of cells. And see what happens. Because the mixture of the pearlescent paint with the regular paint should create some cell formation. But again, I haven't done this in a swipe before, so we'll see. That's the outcome so far. I actually, with the palette knife, I blended the colours. I took the pearlescent gold from the red to the yellow to the green and dragged it down, and then swiped the edges with what was left on the palette knife. And I did that a few times in different directions, and there are a few cells forming. I can't say there were a whole lot. I may need to swipe with my regular gold over there. I'll see. Maybe I'm going to just tilt it a bit now, because now there is a lot of paint, and stretch it out a bit and see what that does. That stretched out the paint a bit, but I still can't see the cells. The light in here is not terribly good, and I don't see very well, as you know, if you watched my videos before, if you've read my intro, but so there I can see some cells in the camera. Up here I can't see anything. So I'm going to add the greens now, and just around the edges, just to add some big leaves. And then I will swipe again with gold, with it's medium gold, I think, or no, it's deep gold, bright gold. So one of the Amsterdam golds. And these were two slightly different greens. Well, this was a mixture of greens, so I don't think it's going to make much contrast. So I'll pour some gold onto these edges as well. So you might think I'm doing it just haphazardly, but I do have, I have thought it through, and I've thought of so many possibilities, and this is the way I finally settled on. So we'll see what happens. It's good to try different things and not to be stuck in a rut. And I mean, I don't have the love of acrylic pouring that I have for oil painting, but I do love the color combinations that you get, and probably the color combinations you get from swiping and from blow drying are the best. But you also do get good color combinations from just tilting. But tilting these is now going to be a little difficult, simply because obviously if I tilt that way it's going to run into the bird, but we'll see. I added the green here, and then I added gold, and then I swiped all the colors together, and you can see I'm getting quite a few cells there now. And the same on this side, but I think I need to add a bit more green here to take it in a bit closer. And then I'll add the cells, the more gold, and then I'm going to add some gold onto my palette knife and swipe it over the bird, and then I'll tilt it again. That is the result of adding more green and more gold and swiping it all over. And I haven't tilted it yet. I can see I missed a few spots, but I'm going to tilt it now, and then I'll bring you back. Not a lot of paint came off when I tilted it, and as you can see my table's more or less exactly as it was before I started painting. I managed to cover this one little coaster that I had remaining, but that's all, and the rest is clean. So hopefully there'll be enough dripping off for me to cover the sides. This one side is covered, but not the others. Otherwise I'll have to pour some over them. But now I have to leave it for probably half an hour, because it's very cold here, so it won't dry quickly. And then I'll come back and shape the bird and the leaves. I'm not going to make a tree like that painting. I'm going to just make some big leaves. This could be a branch here, and some very big leaves around him. So I think that will make an interesting painting. And I think there will be some cells. I seem to see more cells on the green side than I do on this side. But that just could be me. I don't know. So we'll have to wait and see. I did a bit more manipulating with the palette knife and just swiping some red over the head because there was too much gold there. And also just swiping down here because there was too much white. I did want a separation of the bird from the trees, from the green, so I could actually work my way around it afterwards, but not as much as there was. Anyway, so I'm going to leave it now. I'm just taking a video so that when I get back, I can compare how I left it and how the paint has moved. Because right now it doesn't seem like the paint is moving at all, but it does move, but just very slowly. You just don't see it. The paint is not dripping. I've taken this palette knife and wiped underneath and nothing much is coming off, so I'm going to try and see if it's set enough for me to sketch on the painting. And I'm just using this little stick I have, and I'll see if I can make a head over here, and whether it stays. And it's not the easiest stick to use, I don't think. Normally I use a paintbrush, but I just want to see if this would work. So that's kind of the outline of that side. And as I've said in other videos, it's difficult to do this if you don't have a sketch or drawing or painting or something of what it is you want to paint, because you're dealing with, liquid paint, and you really are only doing an outline. So if you don't have a sketch, unless it's something that you're really familiar with, you may have a little problem. So I've been doing, a lot of oil paints and then seeing if I can do the same thing but in acrylic. So then I have my oil painting as my guide. That's how the outline of the bird has come out, and you can see I've outlined some leaves as well, but I don't think they're going to stay because I did a branch here for the claws to be sitting on, and the branch is already disappearing, so it means that I will just have to leave it. And I did a leaf there, the leaf is disappearing as well, so it's clearly the paint is not ready yet, which is amazing because it's not dripping at all. But I'll leave it and come back again and see what has transpired. And this time I might not just leave the outlines. I might paint in some more distinct outlines. On my fawn and some of the roses I did, I've just left the outline, as people do with the bloom outline, but I think it would look better if I actually went over with some red around the edges. The red has pretty much turned to pink and gold here. There's a bit of the blue and the yellow there, but not much. So anyway, what I was looking to get with this style was, or doing it this way, was some cells, and honestly there are some. There you can see a few, but not a whole lot, and certainly not the lacing that I got when I did my roses, which I blew out with the gold and all the other colours. So you can see, there are a variety of different brands here. It's mostly Amsterdam, but there's also Liquitex Basic in the blue, and there is also some Pebia in the blue, the ultramarine blue. So I thought all of that mixing together with the pearlescent paint and the gold would bring out a lot of cells, but it seems it's not to be if you don't. And I did do the swiping, but I didn't use the hairdryer.